Okay, so have you ever been in like one of those meetings where someone throws out this like super complex number
Oh, yeah.
or just like drops a budget term and it sounds like it's like right out of a textbook?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Especially when like business English isn't your native language.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So today we are going to upgrade your skills.
Yeah.
When it comes to financial
I
communication.
love it.
We are doing a deep dive into this episode of a Business English podcast.
Okay.
That is all about like mastering
Yeah.
those kind of tricky numbers and budget terms.
Nice.
So instead of like just giving you this like basic overview, we're going to explore the nuances and strategies
That's right.
that can really make a difference.
Absolutely.
Especially like in your international business interactions.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, so get ready to like ditch those feelings of being like lost in translation.
Yeah.
And we'll get you feeling confident and prepared to like jump into any financial conversation.
Exactly.
You might even be surprised by some of the cultural differences that we unpacked today.
It makes a big difference.
Huge impact on how your message is received, especially in negotiations.
Yeah, for sure.
It's true.
Yeah.
And, you know, even something as basic as like number pronunciation can be a stumbling block.
Oh, for sure.
You know, I was reading about this marketing manager from Spain.
Right.
Her name was Sarah. And she was presenting these like amazing quarterly results.
Oh, what?
And then she hit this like huge number.
Oh, no.
1,234,567.
Oof. Yeah.
I can like practically feel the wave of panic.
I know, right?
That must have hit her.
Totally.
Oh, man.
Especially when you're presenting in a second language.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, but it's not just the...
About like getting the pronunciation right.
It's about how you come across.
Yeah.
It's about the overall impression. When you are comfortable with the numbers, you sound more confident and credible.
Exactly.
Right. And that's super important when you are in any business setting.
And that confidence is like... especially important when you're navigating...
For sure.
all those like cultural norms. Think about it for a second.
Yeah.
A super direct approach to like cost cutting might be totally acceptable in some Western cultures.
Yeah.
But in a place like Japan, where those like business relationships are built on respect and subtlety, that same like directness could be seen as kind of rude.
A little rough.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So
it's so much more than words.
It's a good reminder.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the unspoken rules, the expectations that kind of come into play.
Yeah.
For example.
Imagine an American executive.
Yeah.
He's telling his Japanese counterparts, you need to like slash costs by 15%.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that would probably be met with some resistance.
Big time.
Yeah. Right. I can see that not going over well.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Instead, if you focused on a concept like operational optimization, emphasizes like efficiency and collaboration, that message would probably be better received.
Right. It's like a cultural dance.
It is.
Yeah. It's something we need to be
Yeah.
even more aware of.
For sure.
In the world of like virtual meetings.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Think about all the virtual meetings these days.
Right. You might not even realize that like your big expressive hand gestures while you're like emphasizing a key number could be distracting or even offensive in some cultures.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or a simple nod of agreement might carry more weight in another.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's something else to keep in mind.
Okay.
Those of you working with multiple currencies, just be crystal clear about which dollar you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just saying dollars isn't enough anymore.
Nope.
Is it USD?
Yeah.
CAD? AUD?
Okay.
Those little details can make a big difference.
They do.
Right.
And speaking of like cultural quirks,
okay.
I came across this hilarious story about this Australian CFO who, in a meeting with her American colleagues, kept saying, let's look at the brass tacks.
Oh, my goodness.
Apparently, her American colleagues were totally lost.
I would be, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But it turns out
What does it mean?
she just meant, let's examine the fundamental costs.
Oh, okay.
But her American colleagues
that never even heard that expression before.
Never.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Right.
It highlights that.
Oh, yeah. It does.
You don't just need to learn like the financial vocabulary. You need to be aware of all of those cultural idioms and metaphors that can really throw people off.
Right. So let's say you're in a meeting.
Okay.
You need to talk about some budget issues instead of using kind of vague language like we overspent.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it sound more impressive to say we're experiencing a budget variance?
So much better.
Right.
It does.
It's like using that kind of like specific financial vocabulary.
You sound more professional.
Yeah.
It shows you have a deeper understanding. It's like speaking the language fluently.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like leveling up your business English skills.
That's what we're doing.
Right.
Love it.
And there are so many terms like that.
That can make like a huge difference.
Oh, for sure.
In how you are perceived.
Absolutely.
For example, financial forecasting.
Oh, yeah.
I used to think that sounded so complicated.
I know.
But when you break it down,
Yeah.
it's really just about explaining your predictions for the future.
Right.
But in a way that's based on like data and analysis.
Data and analysis. That's it. Instead of saying, I think we'll make more money next year.
Right.
Say something like, our projections indicate a positive revenue trend for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay.
Same message.
Yeah.
But just delivered a little differently.
With authority.
That's it.
Expertise.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So.
What about some of those buzzwords?
Yeah.
We hear all the time.
What about that?
Like ROI, potential value proposition.
Right.
Are those just fancy ways of saying things, or do they actually mean something?
Yeah. Are they just like fluff?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They have very specific meanings.
Okay.
And knowing when and how to use them can be really valuable, especially when you're pitching ideas or negotiating deals.
Oh, man. Which brings us to the exciting world of negotiation.
Love it.
Did you hear about that tech company that managed to get a vendor to lower their prices?
Wow.
But they did it without damaging the relationship. They used this technique called the sandwich approach.
Oh, the sandwich approach.
Right.
I love it.
Have you heard of this?
Classic negotiation tactic.
It's a classic.
Very effective.
It is. So instead of just like launching into your demand, you start by saying something positive.
Okay.
Then you present your request.
All right.
Which is like the meat of the sandwich.
But the meat.
And then you end on another like positive note.
I love it.
Right.
Cushioning it.
So you're basically cushioning that potentially difficult part with some positive reinforcement.
That's brilliant.
Right.
It is.
So smart.
It's about framing your request to make it feel collaborative, you know? And you know what else can be effective?
What?
Silence.
Oh.
Just letting your offer or your counter offer just hang there in the air.
Wow.
Creates that sense of anticipation.
Okay.
Makes the other party more likely to concede.
Wow.
So
I never even thought about using silence as a tactic.
It's amazing how much psychology goes into these negotiations.
But we have to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
About cultural differences.
You do.
No time.
Right. Silence can be interpreted so differently.
In different cultures.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Contemplation. In others, it could be seen as disagreement or even hostility.
Oh, wow.
So
be aware of the cultural context.
Definitely before you try that one out.
Good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to make a mistake.
It is.
When you're not aware of all the cultural nuances.
It's true.
And speaking of mistakes, I heard this story about this financial analyst who lost a huge contract.
Oh, no.
Because of a tiny little grammar error.
Seriously?
In an email.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy how one little slip up can have such a huge impact.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like financial documents.
Especially with financial documents.
Right.
Clear and concise writing is so important.
Yeah. It's a reminder that like
it is.
Clear and concise writing is absolutely essential.
It is.
When it comes to finance.
Especially in the world of finance.
A simple grammatical error can damage your credibility.
Oh, for sure.
And even cost you money.
Absolutely.
That's accurate.
Always proofread.
Yes.
Your emails, your reports, any other financial documentation carefully.
So important.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
It is good advice.
And when you're presenting financial information virtually, There are a few things
Okay.
to keep in mind.
What are they?
What are your top tips
Okay.
to make sure
Yeah.
those virtual presentations are like clear and engaging?
Yeah.
Okay.
One technique I find helpful
Okay.
is the rule of 3.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're presenting a key number,
Mm-hmm.
state it verbally,
Yeah.
show it visually
Uh-huh.
on like a slide or a chart,
Okay.
and then like provide some context or explanation.
Okay.
This repetition will help to ensure that your audience
Yeah.
really grasps the information,
Okay.
even if they're not in the same room with you.
Right. You
Yeah.
can't just like
Point to it on a whiteboard.
You can't. Right.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all about reinforcing those
Yeah.
key points.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something else.
Okay.
That's really important.
What's that?
The power of storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Even when you're dealing with like numbers and budgets, you're still telling a story.
You are.
You need to make those numbers come to life, connect them to real world scenarios, and like engage your audience.
And gotta engage them
on an emotional level.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Right.
A financial presentation shouldn't just be like a dry recitation of facts and figures. It should be a compelling narrative that captures your audience's attention, convinces them of your message.
So true.
Right.
And speaking of narratives,
Okay.
the world of finance
Yeah.
is like
It's changing so rapidly.
changing so rapidly.
Especially now. Especially with the rise of like
With digital currencies.
digital currency.
Online transactions.
Transactions, a whole new vocabulary.
It feels like a whole new vocabulary.
It is.
We need to learn.
Yeah.
You're right. The language of finance is like evolving.
It is.
And it's more important than ever to be able to like bridge the gap between traditional financial concepts and the new world of digital finance.
Absolutely.
I remember reading about this
Right.
fintech CFO
All right.
who was trying to explain this concept
Yeah.
of DeFi protocol fees to a group of traditional investors.
Okay.
And they were totally lost
Yeah.
until she started
It's what?
using relatable analogies
Okay.
and explaining it in terms of traditional banking overhead costs.
Gotcha.
And it was like a light bulb went off.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Right.
It is.
That's a perfect example of,
It shows how important it is.
to translate all that technical jargon into accessible language.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Not everyone is like
Not everyone is familiar with
the latest buzzwords.
the latest buzzwords
Right.
in the world of digital finance.
In digital finance.
You got to explain these concepts in a way that everyone can understand.
You have to break it down.
You do.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so
We've covered
a lot of ground.
a lot of ground.
From number pronunciation to cultural nuances to the rise of digital finance.
Oh, that's a lot.
What happened? What happens when things go wrong? What kind of language do we need to use when we're facing
when we're in crisis mode?
a financial crisis?
Right.
Right.
That's where crisis budget language comes in.
Okay.
It's all about communicating that difficult information clearly and calmly
Right.
without
Yeah.
causing panic.
You don't want to start a panic.
Yeah. Remember that story
Oh, yeah.
about the regional finance director
Okay.
who reframed a significant budget shortfall as an opportunity
Yeah.
to realign resources?
That's a good one.
That's such a good example.
It is.
Right. Instead of like dwelling on the negative, she turned it into
Positive.
a positive,
Proactive.
proactive
All to action.
call to action.
Right.
I love that.
It's not about
Not about
sugarcoating the situation or pretending everything is fine.
right.
It's about being honest and transparent, but also conveying confidence and control.
Right. So instead of like
Instead of saying,
announcing that we're dipping into our emergency reserve,
right,
we could say we're activating our contingency resources.
exactly.
Or
And instead of saying,
And instead of saying,
we need to cut costs by 25%, you could talk about implementing a 25% efficiency optimization program.
okay,
It's the same action,
yeah,
but framed a little differently.
right.
Okay.
I'm starting to see how
Right.
powerful
Language is powerful.
language is in like
It is.
shapes perceptions,
And influencing outcomes.
influences outcomes.
Right.
Yeah. It's not just about
What's right.
what you say, but
It's about how you say it.
how you say it.
Exactly.
And this is especially true
This is especially true when
when you're communicating about
you're communicating about
there's sensitive topics like budget cuts or financial underperformance.
Right. So instead of focusing on the negative.
Yeah, instead of just like focusing on all the negatives.
Try to pair the challenge with the solution.
Okay. For example, we could say.
For example.
We've identified a 15% performance gap. Mm-hmm. And we've developed a 3-phase recovery strategy to address it.
That's great.
Right.
It shows that you're not just dwelling on the problem.
Yeah, you've got a plan.
But that you're taking
steps to solve it.
To solve it. And when we're
communicating
about timelines and action plans during a crisis, it's really important to be
specific, be concrete.
Specific and concrete. Yeah. Right.
Vague promises won't inspire confidence.
No.
You've got to provide details, time frames.
Yeah.
For example, we are projecting a return to standard operating margins within 90 days with key milestones at 30 and 60 days.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It shows you've got a plan.
You got a plan.
You're committed to seeing it through.
That's it.
Okay.
And that brings us to one of the most exciting aspects.
What is it?
Of financial communication, investment pitches.
Okay.
This is where we get to turn
numbers into
compelling narratives.
Compelling narrative that can inspire action.
I love it.
It's true.
Right.
Investment pitches are all about presenting a vision for the future, making a case for why investors should be a part of it.
Right.
It's not just about asking for money.
Yeah.
It's about telling a story that captivates your audience, leaves them wanting more.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that story about the startup CEO who explained their growth projection using a beta-backed story.
That's right.
It wasn't just a number on a slide.
It wasn't. It was vivid.
A vivid picture of the future, full of potential.
Full of potential.
Possibility. It was so inspiring.
That's the power of storytelling.
That's the power of storytelling.
And when it comes to crafting a compelling investment pitch, there's a simple framework.
Okay.
You can use it.
Tell me about it.
Make sure you hit all the right points. We call it the triple P approach.
The triple P.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Problem size.
Okay.
Penetration strategy and profit pathway.
Okay.
First, you clearly articulate the problem you're solving. How big is the market?
Yep.
How many people are affected by this problem?
Oh, okay.
Then you got to explain your strategy for capturing market share.
Okay.
How are you going to reach your target audience? What makes your solution unique?
Okay.
And then you need to outline the path to profitability.
Yeah.
How will your business generate revenue?
Right.
What are your projected profit margins?
That's a great framework.
It is.
It's clear, it's concise.
It is. And
essentials?
All the essentials of a successful
investment pitch.
Yeah. And once you've nailed that pitch, secured the investment, it's time to translate that energy into compelling financial documentation.
That's where those storytelling skills come in handy again.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember reading about this tech company whose budget proposal was initially rejected.
Oh, no.
But then they revamped the language and made it more engaging and persuasive.
Nice.
And it was approved.
Look at that.
It's amazing how much of a difference the right words can make.
It's incredible.
Right.
Instead of submitting a dry budget request for Q1.
Yeah. They presented a Q1 strategic investment proposal.
So much better.
Right.
It is.
They just like reframed the entire document.
It reframed it.
Right.
And it positioned it.
Yeah, positioned it as like...
as a strategic investment opportunity.
A strategic investment opportunity.
Right.
So smart.
It is.
And when it comes to writing budget reports, it's important to remember that. Every number needs a narrative home.
Needs a home.
You can't just like present the figures in isolation.
Yeah.
You need to explain. All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into mastering the language of numbers and budgets.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
We are tackling part 2.
I'm ready.
What about you?
Let's do it.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Everything from number pronunciation to cultural sensitivity, negotiation tactics, even crisis communication.
It's a lot.
I know, it's amazing.
I know.
How much there is to learn about using language effectively.
It's amazing.
In the world of finance.
Especially in the world of finance.
One of the key takeaways so far for me is the importance of clarity and precision.
Oh, for sure.
When you're dealing with financial information, there's no room for ambiguity or vagueness.
You got to be specific.
You've got to be.
Yeah.
And that clarity is especially important.
Absolutely.
When we're communicating with our teams about budgets and financial goals.
It's about creating.
It's all about creating a culture of financial awareness and ownership.
Yes.
Where everyone understands how their individual actions contribute to the bigger picture.
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
It's not about telling people what to do.
It's not just about
empowering them. Make informed decisions.
Yeah, to make good decisions.
And that starts with clear communication.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that story.
Oh, yeah.
About the department head who reframed
the budget reduction
as an opportunity to optimize resource allocation.
It's such a good example.
I know. It's
turning that negative into a positive.
Right.
Instead of imposing cuts.
Imposing those cuts.
She involved her team. Encouraged them to come up with solutions.
It's a much more collaborative.
It is much more empowering.
Right. And when we're discussing resource allocation with our teams.
Resource allocation.
We can use frameworks like 3-tier approach to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Love it.
So instead of just handing out this lump sum to each department, we can break it down further.
Okay.
And we can say, we're allocating $500,000 to marketing.
And marketing.
Okay.
With 40% dedicated to proven growth channels, 40% to expanding initiatives, and 20% for innovative pilots.
Innovative pilots, love it.
That level of detail just helps everyone understand.
It does.
The strategic priorities.
Right.
How their work fits in.
To
the bigger picture.
And it can also help prevent those interdepartmental
turf wars. Where everyone's just fighting for a bigger piece.
For a bigger slice of the budget pie?
Instead of encouraging competition.
We should promote collaboration.
We should be promoting collaboration.
Yeah.
We could say something like...
Like what?
Team A's $300,000 allocation works synergistically with Team B's $250,000 investment, creating a multiplier effect. That boosts our overall ROI from 120% to 180%.
180%.
Right.
Love it.
That's a great way to show
how
each team's success contributes to the collective success.
Absolutely.
Of the entire organization. When it comes to managing costs. At the team level. Transparency is key.
We need to show our teams how their individual decisions impact the overall budget. We can make it more personal.
Yeah.
We can make it more relatable by saying something like, each team member's choices directly influence our daily operational cost of $50.
Okay.
By making a collective effort to improve efficiency
by 5%.
5%.
Okay.
We could add another team member next quarter.
Look at that.
Right.
I love that.
It's a great way to empower those
team
members. It makes them feel
like they're part of something bigger.
It's not about following rules.
Right.
It's about understanding the impact of your actions.
It's about understanding the impact
of your actions.
And making informed choices.
And making those good decisions.
Yeah.
And when we're discussing
and when you're discussing
project budgets
with
our teams.
With your teams, you
need to find that balance between inspiration and accountability.
You don't want to stifle creativity.
Right. We don't want to...
By being overly restrictive.
Stifle creativity by being overly restrictive, but we also need to make sure that...
And you also need to make sure...
Everyone understands.
And everyone understands.
The financial parameters.
Those financial parameters.
So instead of saying, don't go over budget.
Yeah, instead of that,
We could try saying,
we have a $100,000 investment.
We have a $100,000
for this project.
Investment for this project.
Okay.
And reaching each of the 3 success milestones unlocks additional resources for team development.
I love that approach.
Right.
Sets clear expectations.
But
also motivates the team.
Clear expectations, but it also motivates the team.
To strive for excellence.
It's
about achieving goals together.
Excellence, right.
Yes, celebrating those successes.
It's about creating a culture of...
Along the way?
Yeah. Shared ownership. And accountability.
That's it.
And remember those performance metrics?
Oh, yeah, those performance metrics.
We talked about earlier. Yeah. We need to make sure we're connecting those metrics.
Connect them to team impact.
Team impact, instead of just presenting numbers.
You got to explain what they mean.
We need to explain what those numbers mean for the team.
Yeah.
Right.
What do they mean?
We could say something like...
Give me an example.
Our 22% improvement in efficiency directly funded our team's professional development program.
Okay.
Which means
$3,000 investment.
A $3,000 investment.
In each team member's growth.
Look
at that.
I love that.
Right.
It's a tangible way.
It is.
To show the team that their hard work is paying off both for the organization. And
for their own personal development. Creates that sense of shared purpose.
Right.
And accomplishment.
It creates a sense of shared purpose and accomplishment. And when we're discussing,
when you're discussing variances
with our team,
with your teams,
we can use a learning framework.
Love it.
To turn potential setbacks. Into opportunities for growth. Instead of dwelling on missed targets. Or assigning blame.
Yeah, or assigning blame.
We can reframe it as a learning experience. And we could say, we've identified an 8% optimization opportunity.
8%.
Which gives us valuable insight. To inform our strategy for next quarter.
I love that.
Right?
It encourages
that.
Continuous improvement.
And innovation. Right.
It's all about fostering a growth mindset.
It's all about
where those challenges
then fostering a growth mindset
are seen as opportunities for learning.
Where challenges are seen as opportunities
and development.
For learning and development.
And when we're discussing
team incentives,
we need to be clear.
We need to be
clear and specific
about how they are earned.
About how those incentive
promises,
generalizations,
we can't have those,
won't motivate anyone.
Vague promises.
You got to use clear,
generalization,
number-backed statements.
Right.
For example, you could say, every 1% improvement.
Every 1% improvement.
In customer satisfaction. Translates to $200. Added to your team bonus pool.
A $200 addition to our...
With our current trajectory pointing to
bonus pool,
a 15% increase.
And our current trajectory is pointing to a 15% increase.
That creates transparency. I feel a sense of fairness. Shows everyone.
It shows everyone
exactly how
their individual contributions
can
lead to those collective rewards. It's
all about aligning individual goals.
It's all about
our organizational objectives.
Aligning individual goals with organizational objectives.
Right.
That's what
it's about, creating a culture.
Effective financial communication
where
everyone is working together
towards connecting the dots.
A shared vision
between individual actions, team performance,
success, right,
and organizational goals.
It's what effective financial communication is all about.
It is.
Connecting the dots between
those dots.
Individual actions.
Between individual actions, team performance, and organizational goals. It's about telling that story.
It's about telling a compelling story.
With numbers.
A
story that inspires.
Motivates.
Drives action.
And speaking of stories, I think it's time to move on to part 3. Of our deep dive. Where we're going to explore the art of storytelling with data. And how to craft those compelling narratives. That bring financial information to life. Are you ready to continue our journey?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. So welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into mastering business English for all those tricky financial conversations. We've made it. I know we've explored a ton of techniques already.
We have.
But now it's time for like my favorite part.
Okay.
The art of storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
With numbers.
Love it.
Because let's be honest.
Okay.
Raw data alone can be...
It can be pretty dry.
Super dry. Right.
Yeah.
It's the narrative
that brings it to life.
To life.
That's right.
Think about like those presentations or those reports that really captivated you.
Yeah.
The chances are they didn't just like...
They didn't just
bombard you with figures.
Blow numbers at you.
They like wove those numbers into a compelling story.
It did.
Making the information like...
Yeah, making it memorable and impactful.
Yeah,
that's a great way to put it.
It's like the difference between reading a spreadsheet
Totally.
and listening to like a captivating speaker.
It is.
One just gives you data points, while the other like paints a picture.
Yeah.
Evokes emotions.
Totally.
It makes you care.
Care about the outcome.
About the outcome, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the beauty is... this skill applies whether you're pitching for investment, presenting a budget, or even just explaining a concept to a colleague.
That's right.
I'm reminded of that tech company we discussed. Yeah. Their initial budget proposal was rejected.
Right.
But they didn't just like...
They didn't just tweak the number.
Tweak the numbers.
They reframed the entire
whole thing.
Document, turning it from this like dry list of requests.
From a dry list of requests.
Into a strategic investment proposal.
Strategic investment proposal. That's right.
It's amazing how powerful.
Yeah, language is powerful.
Language can be.
It is.
In shaping perceptions.
Shaping those perceptions.
Right.
Instead of focusing just on the costs.
Instead of focusing solely on the costs.
Yeah, they highlighted the potential return on investment.
Right. They highlighted the potential...
strategic alignment.
Return on investment.
With company goals.
Yeah. Strategic alignment.
The long-term benefits.
With company goals in the long term.
They painted a picture.
Benefits.
Of future success backed up by data.
Painted a picture of future success.
And that's what won over the decision makers.
Backed up by data.
Right.
That's what won over the decision makers.
They shifted from asking for money.
It's like they shifted.
To inviting their stakeholders to join them.
Asking for money, to inviting...
on that journey towards a shared vision.
Stakeholders, to join them on a journey towards
more compelling.
A shared vision.
Proposition.
And that's like a much more compelling proposition.
Yeah.
But how do we actually go about crafting...
So how do we...
these narratives?
Craft these narratives.
But where do we even begin?
Or a good starting point is to think about your audience.
Okay.
Who are you talking to?
All right.
What are their priorities? What kind of information will resonate with them?
That makes sense.
Right.
A group of investors is going to be interested in
different things.
Different aspects of the story.
Than a department head.
Right.
Who's managing a team budget.
Compared to like a department head.
Exactly.
And managing a team budget.
And once you understand your audience, you can start to structure your narrative.
All right. How do we do that?
Simple but effective framework is the STAR method.
The STAR method.
Situation, task, action, result.
I like it.
First, you set the scene. Describe the situation, the challenge you're facing, or the opportunity you're pursuing.
Gotcha.
Then outline the task at hand. What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals?
Right.
Describe the actions you took. What steps did you take? To address the situation, achieve those goals, and finally, highlight the results. What was the outcome? What impact did your actions have on the bottom line?
That structure is super helpful for organizing our thoughts and like making sure that our narrative has a clear
beginning, middle, end.
Beginning, middle, and end.
You don't have to be Shakespeare to tell a compelling story.
And you don't have to be like
with numbers.
Shakespeare.
Sometimes the simplest stories
is tell a good story.
Are the most powerful.
Right.
It's about finding those human connections.
Sometimes the simplest stories are the most powerful.
Highlighting the emotion behind the numbers.
It's all about finding those human connections.
And see the data.
Highlighting the emotion behind the numbers and making that data relatable.
Yeah. Think about that startup CEO.
Right.
He didn't just throw out a bunch of growth projections.
I'm thinking about that startup CEO.
He told a story.
Who didn't just
throw out a bunch of growth projections.
Was solving a real problem for real people.
He told a story about how their product.
He backed it up with data.
Was solving a real problem for real people.
That showed the impact they were making.
And he backed it up.
Right.
With data that showed the impact.
Yeah, he connected those numbers we're making.
To a larger purpose.
He connected the numbers to a larger purpose.
A mission that resonated with his audience.
Right. A mission that resonated.
We made his story so compelling.
With his audience. And that's what made his story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to think.
It is.
About how we can use the power of storytelling.
It is.
To make a real difference in our business interactions.
It can make a difference.
Whether we're securing funding,
yeah,
motivating our teams, or simply communicating complex financial information.
Communicating that complex information.
In a way that's clear and engaging.
In a way that's clear and engaging.
Storytelling can be.
It's so valuable.
Incredibly valuable.
And as we wrap up this deep dive,
right,
I encourage you to think about the financial stories.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
you want to tell?
I want to encourage everyone.
What narratives will capture your audience's attention?
To think about those financial stories.
What data will support your message?
That you want to tell.
How can you use language to bring those stories to life?
What narratives will capture your audience's attention?
Right.
What data will support your message?
Yeah.
And how can you use language?
Every number tells a story.
To bring those stories to life.
It's up to us to discover that story.
It's an exciting challenge.
And share it with the world in a way that's informative and inspiring.
Right.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
We're not just crunching numbers.
Keep mastering the art of financial communication.
We're shaping narratives.
Yeah.
We're influencing decisions.
Yeah.
And ultimately creating the future we envision.
Love it.
So go out there and tell your financial stories with confidence.
Confidence, clarity.
Clarity.
And a touch of storytelling magic.
And a touch of storytelling magic.
That's it.
Every number tells a story.
It does.
It's up to us to discover that story and share it.
You got it.
With the world in a way that's both informative and inspiring.
Inspiring.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
Keep learning.
And keep mastering the art of
keep growing.
Financial communication.
Keep mastering that art.